exciting thing that cinema had to offer, and what did I think of that? And of course, what I said was, gee, I always loved 3D. I mean, my attic in Point Lookout when I was 13 was littered with red and green gel and motors as I was trying to invent a spinning disc that would enable glasses not to be necessary. We were all excited in those days by a movie called Buana Devil. And then there was a few films, then it sort of petered out, and then it revived again with the film House of Wax, I remember. And then there was another tradition of 3D. That was a good picture. And then even Hitchcock made a 3D film after that second excitement over the medium. I think it was called Dial M for Murder, although very few people ever saw it in 3D. And so what I felt was, 3D with glasses, to me, we've had that experience before. Certainly one thing is different. We have these great computer animated films, which is an easy step for them to do 3D, as you know. And soon and it's easy for television, for digital televisions to have a 3D mode. So perhaps that will be the difference of why the 3D trend might continue. Although for me, and this is just a personal opinion, I don't like watching 3D with glasses. I enjoyed very much Avatar, but I confess that I took the glasses off during much of the movie, and whenever I saw the images start to show that it was going to be 3D, I put them on and saw a wonderful sequence, and then I took them off again. So I'm a little bit in the camp that believes that maybe the whole movie shouldn't be 3D, but some good sequences should be 3D, that you then, if you're going to have glasses, so you don't have to have the glasses and get a headache throughout the whole experience. I think of a film that I had a little to do with, not much, but if any of you ever saw the great Abel Gance silent film Napoleon, which was presented around the world with a live orchestra, it wasn't 3D, but they had 3 screens. It was called Polyvision, and ultimately, I guess it was the germ of what became Cinerama. But in Napoleon, you saw the 3 screens there, but the movie was told in the center screen, and then every once in a while, at one moment, suddenly it opened onto 3 screens. It was such a thrilling moment, and there was an extraordinary 3-screen sequence shown on the film, and I always remembered that, and I thought, well, if I make a film, I would like to have some 3D sequences, but not entirely throughout the whole film. And so that's the purpose of the mask. Let's experiment. Can we get more light so we can get a picture of this? Everyone put on your mask. Go up. Cinema has many more surprises that you and your children will invent, because it's at the beginning of this expression of image and sound in many ways. Music and theater are thousands of years old. Cinema is a baby, so of course we're going to see wonderful innovations come. And there can be many, and I guess I was a little taken aback when I heard certain studio executives saying, well, they're going to make all their films in 3D, as if this was the magic fix. No, cinema has some real surprises up its sleeve, and that's what I want to talk about today. And I want my colleague Dan talk a little bit about music and theater in the past. What was it like?
I think the big shift in the way people interact with art changed when being able to reproduce it without the actual creators being there. Like 100 years ago, if you were to listen to music, you had to be in the same room as the person making the music. If you wanted to see a play,
can you hear Dan? Okay, good.
And then once recordings came about, that changed it was a huge paradigm shift in the way people thought about music. Now they could just listen to music whenever they wanted. They didn't have to be in that room. They didn't have to, seek out a performance. The performances came to them. And then, of course, with film, it changed the way that, people interacted with theaters. Stage theaters became movie theaters.
If I may add, like if you were a composer, you didn't get any money. There were no record rights. There was no money for composition. The way you got money was by touring with the the musicians to the towns and conduct. Mendelssohn, they say, was not a very good conductor, but he went and conducted his music, as did all of the composers, because that's the only way they could get a fee, although Mendelssohn was also rich. But, or Liszt, or being an actor. If you wrote a play, you sort of had to be in the company to get paid, or this idea of getting rich off of art was...
And that's where the idea of, stars came from, because there would be, a particular virtuoso that was better than anyone else that would sing a particular aria, like, blow people away. You'd see the same operas again and again, but then there'd be this one touring company coming through, or there'd be this one particular conductor, and it just changed the atmosphere. But once everything became recording, there was a definitive way. There was now a perfect that was set in stone. There was no way to augment or change that.
And you have to realize that art has only been recorded or recordable. Technology has only mastered that in the last 170 years. The first photograph, say, was about 170 years ago. The first time art was able to record. And then, of course, sound and the ability to hear Caruso in your living room. Why, then when some guys put up a sheet and projected a locomotive pulling into the station, audiences were thrilled and shocked. But in a sense, ever since then, most art given to all of us is recorded. It's canned. It's not live.
It's made to be commodified as well.
It's a commodity. Explain about Stravinsky, for example.
Stravinsky started, when he first started composing, it was pre-phonographs, but then once the phonograph became popular, he started writing his symphonies so that they would fit on one side of a record. And I think a lot of musicians today write music that, exists in a way that you can start at the beginning, it gets to the end, it fits on a CD, or it fits on a vinyl record, or, it's small enough where someone can download it in an instant, and it's linear.
So what all this is about is to pose the idea, why do movies have to be canned? I mean, everything else is. We know that it's competing with a lot of really entertainment, that cable news is entertainment. If it's not canned, it's certainly pre-digested. Politics is entertainment, and it's pre-digested. Everything, all we have that's vaguely alive are the concerts you go to, are some theater, or sports. Sports is, you really don't know what's going on. I mean, when the ladies were playing soccer, I didn't know. My heart was in my mouth at the last few minutes of that. It was such an exciting thing. That's what makes sports great. And my little granddaughter, who's probably your age, she's 24, she tells me, she says, Dad, we go to the first night of all the movies. We wait online and we go because sometimes you see the people who worked on it there, and no one knows whether it's good or bad. So there is a yearning, I feel, for a little bit more of the live to be put back in cinema. And for that reason, when we made Twixt, I knew it was kind of a Halloween kind of story. And I thought, gee, what I'd love to do is go on tour like a month before the film opened and go to all the cities myself with my collaborators, with live music, and actually perform the film for each audience uniquely for them. A different version for each audience. That's what opera was like. In the old days, when the opera conductor, my dad was a conductor, as I think many of you know, and I want to be a conductor because my dad was a conductor. But if in the old days, when the audience was loving what was happening, the conductor would go the number of the cue and go like that to his head, which meant to the top, and they'd do it again, because the audience liked it, and that was where the encore came from. And if the audience was very bored and stuff, he'd go second ending. That meant they just quickly go on. So